thank the Elmwood Park Library for giving us, helping us use this space for this forum. Again, there'll be 1 minute opening statements, 1 minute to answer questions, and 1 minute closing statements. Again, we have the timer in the front row to try and keep people on task. People are walking around, our members. If you have a card or even another piece of paper, questions, please submit them. Just hold them up and one of our members will grab it and then put it up here for me to look at. There are 6 candidates running for 3 open positions. The candidates for election are Susan Capraro, Monica Doyle, Tim Loughnane. Did you say that? Loughnane. Damian Pereson-Estrada, Frank Parisi, and Rosalyn Sanchez. But the candidates that are here tonight are Tim Loughnane, Damian, and Rosalyn. So we're going to start off with opening statements, and we're going to go alphabetical again. We start with one person, and then the next question starts with that second person. So Tim, you're going to start us off with your opening statements. Again, if you ever need me to repeat a question, please just ask and I can do that. And our timer is right here, so when you see the stop, you don't have to stop in the middle of your sentence, finish your thought, but wrap it up as soon after that, okay? All right, go ahead.
All right, hi everybody, my name's Tim Loughnane. I'm like 98% lifelong resident. When we first got married, my wife and I, we didn't have any money, couldn't afford a house here, so we moved out for a few years, but came back. I went here from kindergarten through 8th grade. I went to Elm, and then that became the junior high, so then I had to move to Elmwood, and then I went back to Elm for 2 years. And then for my own kind of school benefit, I ended up going to Holy Cross High School for my 4 years there. However, all my family went here. We grew up here. Family's been in the town for about 80 years. I served on the school board for 4 years. Prior, I lost 2 years ago on the election. I currently serve on a number of various boards. I'm a high school official for 5 different sports. So I am part of different things in there. I've been on the youth commission now here in Elmwood Park. We volunteer our time for the last 9 years. Do a lot of activities for a lot of different kids. I am also the booster club president at the Elmwood Park High School. I made us a charitable organization, so now we can collect money from businesses, so that way we can increase our revenue and help our student athletes. So I'm hoping to be back on the board again come April. Thank you.
Thank you. Damian?
Good evening, and thank you to the league for hosting this event. I'm Damian Pereson-Estrada, a lifelong resident of Elmwood Park, having attended Mills, Elm, and the high school. Currently, I have one sister who just graduated from the high school, another still attending, and another entering Mills in a few short years. Growing up in Elmwood Park, I credit much of who I am today to the public school system here in town. Much of what I learned here in my experiences early on from Mills to the high school, I witnessed firsthand what makes our community and schools great, but also where we can improve. Now, as I pursue my degree in history and secondary education, I'm determined to give back to our community and help make our schools stronger, safer, and more inclusive for every student. As a board member, I will focus on initiatives to improve our school report card ratings, ensure student safety, improve mental health resources, enhance our academics, and much more. By strengthening these areas, we will not only add value to our communities and our homes, we will demonstrate that taxes being paid are taxes well spent.
Thank you. Rosalyn?
Hello, my name is Rosalyn Sanchez. I'm married to my husband for 15 years. I have 3 kids. My daughter was class of 2015 over at the Elmwood Park Transition Program. My middle child is in freshman in high school. He's in the marching band and theater. My youngest is at John Mills. He's 5 years old. I am originally from Brooklyn, New York, but I've been here for 12 years, and I called Elmwood Park the Hallmark Channel. I love the community sense of it. I love how everybody comes together, and that's what drew me to this. I worked at John Mills for 2 years in the preschool special ed, which I'm very passionate about. I'm very passionate about advocating for everyone's needs, specifically special education. For the families in the community, I volunteer for PTA, I volunteer for bands, I volunteer at the rec center. Whatever my kids are involved in, that's what I love to do, and I want to be able to advocate and do the best that I can for the educational part of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. The first question, Damian, you're gonna start with the first question. 3 schools have work done to expand their facilities. Do you think this will be sufficient for the growing population of Elmwood Park?
No, I do not. Having been just a couple years ago at the high school, they did add a couple classrooms after I left. However, due to the increasing population of students from, we have a lot of immigration happening in our community, we are not being able to house these students effectively. The teachers cannot have a home classroom, so they're often wheeling around carts to different classrooms to be able to do this. I do believe that there needs to be something done at the high school level to expand space further. The high school is like the epicenter of our school district, as well as Elm Middle. Both of those, all the district will go to at one point or another. So at the high school, I do think we need to, make more room, whether that's adding an extension to the building, or adding classrooms and spaces that aren't being utilized properly. I do think that that's something that needs to be done, and it needs to be done quickly.
Thank you. Rosalyn?
I think they did a great job. I feel that the buildings are not a problem. I think the staffing is a problem. I think we need more staffing support to be able to support the needs of our community, as we are a very growing, diverse community. I think that we need to support those areas better, more than the buildings itself.
Thank you. Tim?
So I was on the board when I was elected. The middle school was already being done, and we were going through the referendum for the 2 grade schools. So while those look great, yeah, the high school's very out of date. It looks the same that most of it did when my dad graduated there in 1969. So I have 2 kids as well. One's a freshman there, the other one's in 5th grade at John Mills. So my kids are gonna be there for the next 8 years. There's lots of things in the high school that need to be repaired and fixed and updated. One of the last things that I approved, or we approved when I was part of the board, was to fix the theater where the ropes were apparently made of hemp that were flammable and have been there since the 50s. So seeing as we have a lot of money in our bank account, it might not be in their budget every year, but in the bank account as taxpayers, there's a lot of money sitting there, and that high school needs to be fixed up. I officiate high school sports. I see wonderful high schools throughout the state of Illinois and in the Chicagoland area. There's a lot better ways that I think our school can look better and present. That way people want to come here and be a part of our fantastic community.
Thank you. Rosalyn, you're gonna get this next question first. Is there a program in place to protect Elmwood Park students whose parents may be targeted by ICE?
I called the district to question that. I personally don't have a lot of information about it, but from what I was told is any schools that are having difficulties, if anyone were to present, they would have to be turned away and sent to the district to handle that personally. So me, I can't offer anything more than what I'm not part of the school board right now. This just happened. But I do know that the district would have a responsibility to respond or deny any request that they would have coming to our schools.
Thank you. Tim?
Honestly, something I'm unaware of at this time. So I would have to do more research into that. Not something that was on my immediate peripheral, or my immediate view of something at this time.
Okay, thank you. Damian?
That is something that has been on my mind lately. Even, as I said, I'm a student at Dominican University, so that is something that has been on the mind of my school as well, or my university. And like Rosalyn was saying, the district has a responsibility to protect their students and their family. They are not to, release this information to law enforcement officials, despite, orders being taken at the national level. And we do need to ensure not only that the students' safety is being protected in the school, but within our community as well.
Thank you. Let's see. Tim, you're gonna start this next question first. What is your stand on students having phones in the classroom? Hot button issue.
I don't know. All right, so I got a freshman, and so they have to lock them up. I have a 5th grader who doesn't currently have a phone, thank God. He'll get one going into next year, just so that way we can keep track. We live on the north end of town, he's gonna go to the south end of town. That's when my other child got one. As far as phones in the classrooms, look, they already have a computer, and they have access to the world as it is. The teachers and the staff and the security there do a fantastic job. They always have. They did when I was there. As far as having a phone in class, if they're already having a computer, I don't see a whole lot of need other than being able to communicate with their parents if something happens, which I'm sure that they can go walk down to the building, to the office, and communicate with their parents from there. So the only thing I would like to see is, I don't like that I can't communicate with my students via email. So their email is blocked. So like if something changes in our lives, that's a quick email to say, hey, by the way, you're gonna take the bus home. I would like us to be able to communicate that with our students. So that would be my issue.
Thank you. Damian?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure.
Sorry.
What is your stand on students having phones in the classroom?
So, I believe the students should have their phones in the classroom. I do believe that there needs to be some, monitoring of this, but from a safety standpoint, every student should be able to access their phone in the case that there is a lockdown and evacuation is something that is necessary for the student's safety. And once they leave that building, they need to contact their parent, they need to contact the grandparent or anyone to ensure that once they leave that building, in the case of a lockdown and evacuation, that they're gonna go somewhere safe. Now, there is phone caddies where the phones are being housed currently, but there's not a lot of follow through with that. So if the students are gonna be mandated to put their phone in the phone pouches, I think it should be more or less on their desk in a pouch versus on the wall on the other side of the classroom that might be forgotten about if an emergency were to arise.
Thank you. Rosalyn?
I think at elementary and middle school is a no for me. I think at the high school level, because we are basically training them to be adults, right? I think we have to, and they're transitioning to becoming young adults and responsibility and discipline. I think at the high school level, I think they're doing a great job. My son tells me that they have to put it in a caddy, like Damian said. They have schoolwork to do, they have to stay focused. I don't need my middle schooler on TikTok or Instagram or posting videos of what they're doing in the classroom, which I think is distracting to the teachers as well. So at the high school level, yes, and I think they're doing an amazing job. At elementary school and middle school, that's a no for me.
Thank you. Damian, you're gonna get this next question first. What are the best ways for parents and students to understand how standards-based grading works?
This question really isn't relevant anymore, as standard-based grading was sunsetted in our school district, but I'll do my best to talk on it. As a student, formerly of the district and someone who is studying education, standard-based grading, in my opinion, it has negative impacts on our community. It has negative impact on our staff and the students. It disadvantages our students when applying to colleges from the high school, because they have to go back to traditional based grading regardless, because you cannot send a 1, 2, 3, or 4 to a college. There was no real potential for a student in our district to receive a 4. So students who were getting every single question correct on an exam or on an assignment were getting a 3, which was part of the reason why parents had an issue with it.
Thank you. Rosalyn?
I think the difficulty was whenever there's something new presented in our district, I don't think we were being educated properly as students and families. For me, for myself, my son was confused, I was confused, I was looking for him for answers, he was looking for me for answers, I was turning to the schools for answers, they didn't have the answers, I was looking to the district for answers, they didn't have answers. So that was a difficulty that I hit, was when you present something new or something that has been there for a while, it doesn't matter if it's a month or a year, I don't think that we were being educated properly in how it was working or how it was going to work or function for our community. So I think that's why it didn't work out. So I'm glad they took it out. I wasn't a fan, by the way.
Thank you. Jim?
Yep, so my oldest son, his grade started with it. So they started with it in 4th grade. And they rolled it out all the way through 8th grade, and now they had started it in high school, and it has since been retracted in high school. However, I do believe it's still gonna go through from K through 5. It's just not gonna be relevant anymore in the middle school and the high school. As far as the reasoning behind it, I'm unclear as a parent because I didn't have to do that. Could there have been better communication from everybody? Yes, but the problem that I saw as a parent was every time my child went to the next grade, it was new to that grade level. So they were struggling, trying to figure it out as well. Do I think it's the best system? I don't know. I'm not in professional education. It's not my job. I negotiate contracts. So while it could be beneficial, it may not be beneficial. Now, as far as making it into a GPA, I know that was a struggle even when I was on the board. It was something I constantly brought up. How are we making a 1, 2, 3, 4 into a GPA? As far as being able to get a 4, yes, the teacher actually had to put a specific question on that summative or formative, because they can't call them tests or quizzes anymore. Make it easy. So yeah, if there wasn't a 4-level question on the test or quiz, they weren't able to achieve that grade. So I have 2 bright kids and they always ended up with 3s.
Thank you. Rosalyn, you're gonna start this next question. Do you think surveys should be used to get input from parents and students? And if so, how often?
I think depending on the cause, I love surveys and I like knowing what other people are thinking, and I think as a community, sometimes we lack that, and I think that's why we're not close-knit as we should be with certain topics. And I think that depending on what topic it is and how often it comes up, I think surveys would be extremely helpful, especially to the school board.
Thank you. Tim?
So while I believe surveys are great because we want to be a community, right now we're sectioned kind of off in 4 different silos. Every school is, we all do the same curriculum, we all do everything the same, but we really need some parent involvement in this. So we can do surveys all we want, but it's literally the same 10 to 15 families that are at 4 different schools volunteering their time. I think if more kids were involved in activities and the parents would then come to those activities, we'd have a better sense of everything that's going on throughout the district. Surveys are great, but then we have to follow through on the surveys as well.
Thank you. Damian?
Like Tim said, in order for surveys to be effective, there does need to be a large or majority population of the student body and families contributing to these surveys. Surveys, in my opinion, are something that should be used at every school by the building principal to assess where there's areas to improve, but also at a district level, because we are a K-12 district, that we know where we need to improve from K to 12th grade, and how we can do so. I think we also need to survey the staff, and the culture of the staff needs to be evaluated as well and considered when making decisions at the board level for the community and for the students' sake, because they're the ones who are spending bulk of the time with them in the classrooms.
Thank you. Tim, you're gonna start this next question first. What is your opinion on the transparency of school board meetings? Do you feel issues and programs are discussed fully at the board table?
So my 4 years on the board, yes, heavily. In fact, the first 2 years when we had our last superintendent, we were there till midnight. We had some great educators and some great administrators that literally read every word off the slide. And as a board member, I was privy to getting the board docs ahead of time. So it's my responsibility as an elected official and a member of the community to go ahead and read that. And then from there, base my questions, what I'm gathering from the community. Because once again, me being on the board, it's not my personal beliefs. I'm representing the town. And I'm there for the kids. It has no bearing on my life. I'm there to help the kids. As far as being transparent, I think that the school board is very transparent on a lot of issues. They have a lot of discussion. Like I said, the first 2 years I was on the board, we were there till midnight discussing things. So yeah, I don't think the transparency is an issue at this time.
Thank you. Damian?
In the area of transparency, I do believe that the district does make strides to be transparent with the community, with the parents, and with all stakeholders. However, I feel like that is something that is more recent from the March of 2023 incident of when the student brought a gun to the high school. The COW meetings held every month are not streamed for the public, so you cannot hear debate that happens on proposed policy or proposed planning for the school district. So I know this because I'm the only person in attendance from the community at times in these CAL meetings. And so when I see the board members going back and forth about things, I was like, oh, this is great, but I just wish my community can see it more. So in terms of transparency for the board meetings of the CAL committee, the whole, that does need to be broadcasted more in order to have true transparency on the board's decision-making process.
Thank you. Rosalyn?
That would be a hard no for me. And I'm saying this, I'm not in the meetings behind closed doors, so I can't tell you what they're saying, what they're agreeing on or disagreeing on, but as a parent, and also I was staff, I worked at John Mills for 2 years, I did express some concerns, I did express, you know, as a parent, as a staff member, there was no follow-up, I felt there was no transparency, I felt no one really cared about what I had to say when it had to do with the children, because that was my responsibility, was working at the school to serve the children. So I feel that there's things that we need to know, and there's things that, you know, as a board, we're voting for these people. So we have to trust that they're going to do the right thing, but also as a community, we have the right to know certain things. So I think at this moment it's a no for me.
Thank you. Damian, you'll start this next question. How do you plan to engage with residents and maintain transparency in your decision-making process?
So, in terms of engaging with the community and with the families, I do think that board members should be more involved in going to school functions and school-sponsored events across the district at every single school. In terms of promoting transparency from decisions that I would make, well, it would have to be a collective. I'd only be a voice out of 7 on the board, so we would have to come to a consensus together, perhaps on why we made a decision to the public. So maybe there could be more statements made as to what thinking process was behind the decisions that were made, and how that can be implemented. I don't think it'd be appropriate necessarily to voice my own opinion on a matter that is contrary to the majority of the board. So I think it would have to be in a consensus matter for the community.
Thank you. Rosalyn?
Can you ask a question?
Yes. How do you plan to engage with residents and maintain transparency in your decision-making process?
I would have to agree with Damian. The board consists of 7 people, so there is no one person decision. And I'm already a part of the community. I'm a mom. I volunteer, I interact with my community. I know that just like a job and just like the HIPAA laws, there's things you can't discuss, so that's something you will be walking around freely discussing with the community. That's why we have the meetings, is so you could be able to discuss those direct concerns. That's why you should show up and ask the questions so that you can also get the answers that you're looking for. I do think it's important for board members to interact with the community in any level possible, either you have kids or you don't. We have a lot of school functions. We have 4 different schools. Pick one, there's always something. You would never be bored. And I think it's important for the school board members to interact with the community on all levels.
Thank you. Tim?
Yep, so interact with the community. Like I said, I volunteer. I'm on the youth commission. I run floor hockey on Sundays, by the way. Shameless plug, 1:30 to 3:30. We got a couple more weeks left of floor hockey. We do bike rides in the summertime. We're always out, we're always there. I'm the president of the Booster Club. Unfortunately, because I referee, I'm not able to attend every event. My kid does wrestle and he played football, so I was at those games. But yeah, be involved in the community. I've always been involved in the community since I was a young kid. And then you interact with people, you meet new people, you meet new parents, you meet your neighbors, go be friendly, have block parties. Understand what they would like to see with the school. Just be approachable. It's really it.
Thank you. Let's see. Rosalyn, you're going to start this next question. What is your approach to fiscal responsibility and budget management for School District 401?
Well, from what I was told, anyone who joins the board gets proper training. I am not, Tim said he doesn't do education, I don't do finance, but as a team, I would hope and pray that everyone together collectively is trained and is able to come up. All I can say is that I'm open to listening to different ideas and seeing what the reality is of whatever, either the budget, the finances, the community's needs, and meeting those needs. I don't have experience in those areas, but it doesn't mean that I can learn about those areas.
Thank you. Tim?
Yep, so budget and finance, I do a lot of contract negotiations. I work for Cook County Health System. So we work with a lot of money. But like Jack said, and I know this, we don't have a lot of business in our town. Our town is funded by residential and taxpayers. And we need to look at how much money that we have. I know we're paying loans on the middle school. We're paying loans on the 2 grade schools that we went through the referendum. But our taxes also increased to help fund those. And the loan that was done at the middle school was still our taxpayer money. So I need to make sure that, or the board needs to make sure that the taxpayer money is utilized the best to service the community and the students. I think there's a lot of upgrades that can be made throughout the district on the facility side, because I see this, because I'm in it daily. I go to my son's school twice a day for pickup and drop off at John Mills. That's really a pickup and drop off school. It's the only one in town. The other ones you can drop and go. I still go to the high school twice a day to drop off and pick up my other son, including shuttling around other kids. I have a very nice job. I have great bosses that allow me the luxury to play Mr. Mom Monday through Friday. So, until I have to go to work at night. So it's great, but we need to make sure that our finances for our community are working for our community as a whole.
Thank you. Damian?
Can you repeat the question? Just
What is your approach to fiscal responsibility and budget management for the school district?
Like Rosalyn, this is not my area of expertise or something that I'm studying. I'm studying education and policy in that regard into how to help the school system be better. The board members, onboarding board members do receive training in that, but we do have some current board members who are involved in finance, and they do make a lot of comments. Well, how much is it going to cost us? Or, well, the tax we can charge for that. We can charge for that, and that's something that's kind of disheartening. Like Tim said at the beginning, we have a lot of money, and an issue that was arose last week was, should families have to pay for summer school? Our state testing is below state average, and so to improve on this, the district does have to expend some money to improve. So while I think it's important to be fiscally responsible in a residential tax base village, I do think that there does need to be spending well spent.
Thank you. Tim, you're gonna start this next question first. How has the superintendent effectively or ineffectively led the district?
So our current superintendent, Dr. Gochi, went through an unprecedented time, just like the rest of us, right? There was no guidelines of how to handle the situation we all went through 4 years ago, right? We had kids that needed help, we had families that needed help. I mean, as far as going through that period and getting us through, I think she did an absolutely wonderful job with the help of the board and the help of the community. Currently, I think she's still doing a great job. She's moving our district in the right direction. Our kids are learning more. They're having better access to things that I ever had when I went through the district back in the early 80s and 90s. So, I mean, as far as like our kids now, they're getting better access to everything in the world that we ever got. We turned out somewhat okay. I emphasize the word somewhat because I did grow up here, but there's a lot of kids that I went to school with that didn't perform as well. So I think she's doing a fantastic job, and I think we'll continue down a great path for the kids of this town to improve and have them want to come back and be a part of our community down the line.
Thank you. Damian?
Like Tim said, Dr. Gochi was appointed fall of 2020, the year of COVID, so it was a difficult transition, but it was a learning process for not only her, but for the whole community. She, before becoming superintendent, she did serve as curriculum and instruction. I believe that while Dr. Gochi has done many things to help improve our school system, there is things that have not been taking place since before she was superintendent, and things have not changed much. Like I continue to say, our school report card ratings are below the state average. I mean, our 8th grade passing algebra is only 14%, while the state of Illinois is 29.1. We're below in SAT, math, and science. Our science proficiency levels are 45 and the state is 52. So students who want to go into STEM from our school district and to pursue in college are not going to be a competitive target versus those in other districts.
Thank you. Rosalyn?
I feel that overall, our superintendent is doing a good job, but I always feel there's room to do a better job. And I think that as a community, if we come together a little more often and express what is it that our needs are, especially that our community is a very diverse community and we have a lot of needs. Like I said, specifically, you know, our special ed community, I feel it's very forgotten. And I think that, you know, it could be better. There's a lot of things that could be better. And I just feel that maybe it's our part as a community that we haven't voiced our concerns enough or at all. Like Tim said, we have to come together to be able to express what is it that we need, so like that they'll know how to be able to meet our needs better. I just feel that, you know, within our district, we could do a lot better. And like Damian and Tim said, we do have a lot of money, and I think we can use it differently to be able to meet those needs.
Thank you. Damian, you're gonna start this next question first. What are the most pressing issues facing the school district, and how do you propose to address them?
Two key factors that I keep drawing on is the school report card ratings. I mean, no one is going to want to come and live in our village if this continues to progress the way that our ratings are. Something that you look at when you're buying a home is the school ratings, and we need to find ways to improve that. Our staff retention rates are not good, okay? Since 2017, we have seen a decline in our retention rates. Now I know we have to account for COVID, but at Elm Middle School specifically, our staff retention rate has decreased every single year since 2017. Now we have to find ways to keep our staff here. Oftentimes, we are seen as a starter school district, meaning that teachers fresh out of college will come to our district, get years of experience, and go to a higher paying district. And we need to find ways to improve that, and we need to improve it now to improve our staff culture and student morale.
Thank you. Rosalyn?
I would have to agree with Damian's staff. I think it's the biggest problem for me. I feel we're not supporting our staff properly. I can only tell you about Mills, the middle school and the high school. I have no experience at Elmwood. I hear great things about them. I know all schools have difficulties, but I also feel that if we're able to focus on the weaknesses of each school and be able to work on that, I think we could become stronger. That's one of my biggest things that I want to advocate for is more teacher staff support, and to be able to keep our staff here longer. I agree. I feel it was one thing that I had addressed in the past was I feel that we don't ask the questions of why don't they stay here long enough, or why is Elmwood Park like a revolving door? They come in, they come out so quickly, and we have to be able to question why. Why do you leave? Why do you want to leave? What are we not giving you that you don't want to stay long enough? Because the kids also have, right, the responsibility to be able to, or the teachers have the responsibility and accountability to give these kids consistency. You don't want a different teacher every year because they're not being met with their part as far as a staff member.
Thank you. Tim?
Can you repeat the question for me, please?
I can. What are
Thank
the
you.
most pressing issues facing the school district? How do you propose to address them?
So I think something that's pressing for me is making this a community. Like I said, we work in 4 different silos right now as a school. I think if we're more together, like Damian said, eventually you're gonna go to the middle school and then you're gonna go to the high school. Start some programs for these kids where they have some healthy competitive rivalries, like do some intramurals, do some different band competitions at the grade school. When I went to grade school, we had band. That's no longer an option for the kids anymore. If we make this a community, I think it's gonna be better for everybody across the board. The kids wanna be involved, the parents wanna be involved, everyone wants to be involved. We want a great community in this town. I know I do. I always grew up here and that was the way it was. Everybody knew everybody. Yes, I know the world has changed and everybody moves in and out, but I think core family values and core community values go a long way to helping everybody build themselves up. Keeping the teachers here, improving our scores, looking at different ways to help our kids, because that's who it's about. It's about our kids. It's not about me. We all had our opportunities to go through school. Now we got to help the kids.
Thank you. Rosalyn, you'll start this next question first. What are the best ways to provide security and safety for our schools?
I feel that the middle school and the high school having a front person, I think so, I'm not sure if they're security or they're just the monitors, student monitors, I think they're called. I think they're doing a great job with that. I think that we also should have that at the elementary school level at John Mills and Elmwood. I did voice that also as well a couple of years back, especially after the high school incident. I think that all the schools have like a pre-check-in, and I think that would also help with security when people check in, not that they go straight to the secretaries, you know, and then they have access, they're already inside the school. So I think that having school monitors is a great idea, and also having a pre-check-in booth like the high school and the middle school, also at the elementary school level. I think the younger kids deserve to have that extra security measure at the schools.
Thank you. Tim?
So I think security is going really well. I'm there 3 times a week, filling up the concession stand. I have to check in every time and make sure everything's in a row before I even get to walk into school. And this was even when I was on the school board. So security, I think we're doing well. There's police presence out there at John Mills and at Elmwood on a daily basis. I see it at least mostly at John Mills because that's where my child goes to school. However, I do have to roll past Elmwood to go by my mom pretty much every other day because she can't figure out how to turn on the TV. So we go there a lot. We're at the schools a lot. I think security is great. I think they're doing the best that they're capable of doing. They have school resource officer Vic Palomeri, or I'm not saying his last name right, but Victor is great. I know we hired some school resource officers from River Grove that are also in the high school now, and there's campus monitors, and they make sure the kids are where they need to be. So I think they're doing a really good job of that.
Thank you. Damian?
Can you repeat the question?
Certainly. What are the best ways to provide security and safety for our schools?
So, like Tim said, I think they're doing, I think they're doing a better job than when I left there, that's for sure. There have been some improvements in terms of the Director of Security and Safety, and she has implemented a lot of good policies to protect our students. However, I do think that there are still areas to improve. I think that there needs to be more police presence before and after school at each of the buildings. You know, we only have one resource officer, like Tim said, Vic, and he has to rotate between the 3 schools in our town. The high school is in River Grove, so we do have officers there, school resource officers. But for the schools in our district, in our village, we do need to be better at protecting them with a greater police presence. I think that the district office is in our high school, and so when parents want to come and talk to Dr. Goju, have meetings, they have to go to the high school and they have to go to the high school vestibule. I think that we need to find a way to make the district closed off or separate so that parents are not having to go or walk through the building to get to the district office.
Thank you. Tim, you're going to start this next question. Do you think there should be a student rep on the school board?
So when I was in college, I served at Triton College. So I was on the student government there. They did have a student rep. I'd be happy to welcome a student rep sitting in the 4 years because they're the ones that are living this day to day. It's their lives. So we can get some perspective from them. They can be elected by their classmates, whether it be high school only. I think it should be high school only. Let me say that. Because I think if we had a 3rd grader on there or my 5th grader on there, the world would end because everything's a problem. So a high school student that's elected by their classmates, I think would be a great idea. We had one at Triton. They brought perspective to the board that's not able to be there all the time. I'm lucky. I get to work from home. I know some of our school board members, they have jobs. You know, Mr. Sherpinski's a teacher in another district. He doesn't get to work from home. He's not capable of always being there during the day. He may be able to be there at night depending on his family schedule, but yeah, why not? It doesn't hurt anything. Now, as far as them having a vote, I don't think that would be right, but as far as a representation, I think it'd be a great thing to do.
Thank you. Damian?
This is something that I always asked why we didn't have when I was in high school. I was my class president over at EPHS, so oftentimes my classmates, they'd come to me and they're like, well, Damian, can you go talk, at the board about this? Or Damian, can you talk to Mr. Wiles, was our principal for majority of my time at the high school? And I'd be like, okay, and I'd go and do it. But, neighboring school districts like Loughnane Township, they do have student board members. And like Tim said, while I don't believe they should have a vote, I do think that the board should consider their perspectives. Oftentimes when I was a student, I would go to many of these board meetings and I'd just be biting my tongue because I'd want to scream out and say, this is not what's happening in our schools. This is not how it's going. And if you do this, this is what will happen. And if we allow that to happen now, I think that our community would benefit immensely from this. I think that we would grow closer in valuing our students' voice, and you know what? This might promote them to do something like I'm doing and sitting here in front of you guys and running for school boards.
Thank you. Rosalyn?
I would have to agree with Tim. I do think that would be a great idea for a student, a high school student who was voted in by their fellow students. And I also think that would be a great idea for the teachers. However, they would have to be an Elmwood Park resident to represent. And I do feel that they can voice their opinions and represent that group. However, I don't think they should have a vote. I think they're just to represent their class.
Thank you. Damian, you're gonna start this next question. Do you think teachers should get bonuses if their classes get better results on the state test?
Oh, this is a hot button topic as a student of education. We talked about this immensely in one of my education courses, and the answer is no. And that is because teachers will only gear the students to meet the state standards so that they could, I'm not saying all teachers, but so that they could receive this bonus. And what good is it going to do a student if they know what's the right answer just to mark off a box and not actually comprehend what they're learning? So while, it does incentivize the teachers to, get higher test scores, and like I keep saying, the school report card, it will bring our scores up, we would be disadvantaging our students if we allow that to happen. And so I think that we do need to find ways to have our test scores brought up. I don't think it should be by paying the teachers to do something that they should frankly be doing.
No, we don't take questions. No, we don't take questions from the audience. No? Okay, thank you. Rosalyn?
I don't think teachers should get paid extra for testing. However, I do think they should get paid extra. I think when teachers have the credentials, depending on the years that they have, the service that they have provided, after all, they're the ones serving our children. They're the ones with them for 8 hours of the day. They're the ones putting in the time and the effort and the work. And I think that also that's one of the difficulties that I have too, is that we're always negotiating when we have the money, and we should be putting the money where it belongs, which is the teachers that are teaching our children, and not putting our money in other places, like raising other zeros on other people's income or checks or salaries anyway. So no for the testing. Yes, they should get a raise once in a while or a bonus. I think they do deserve it. And if you put in the time, you should get more money for it.
Thank you. Tim?
Okay, so while for a bonus aspect, no, I don't believe any teacher should get a bonus. However, they do get to get other avenues of revenue in their salary. They can become a coach, they can do security, they can do other things, promote events, they can mentor a club. There's lots of different ways that teachers could make their salary better. However, there's also a teachers union that they elect a representative to negotiate their contracts with the school board. So if the teachers are unhappy with their current salary, they have the ability, just like the community does, to elect somebody new. And so that would be their best way to immediately increase or maybe potentially change their salaries. However, like I said, there's lots of opportunities. We all talked about it, right? We have events at the high school 4 to 5 days a week. We have events at the middle school 2 to 3 days a week. And I know we have events at the 2 grade schools. Maybe not as often as the other ones because they have sports. But there's other avenues that the teachers can do, and doing clubs and things like that to help improve their salaries. So no for the bonus though.
Thank you. Let's see, Rosalyn, you're gonna start this other one. So all three of you have talked about reserves. What is the best way for a school district to use excess fund balances or reserves?
What are other ways to use?
What are the best
Or the
way
best way?
for the school district to use their fund balances or reserves?
I mean, there's a lot of things we could use it for, but for me personally, now that I had time to think further about the modifications of the school, and Tim saying there are some areas that need fixing, I don't see every corner of every school. However, I do have a daughter with special needs, and I think the accessibility in some of our buildings could be better. So that as we have students incoming, or students like my daughter, she was the first student in Elmwood Park in a wheelchair, so the ramp was very dusty and squeaky and not working properly. So I know the struggle with that. I think there's different areas that we can do in our district for accessibility, not only for people with disabilities, but we also have seniors. We have people, like right now I broke my foot, so I need an elevator access or some type of way that I can get to all floors. So I think we can use it on those areas that are lacking.
Thank you. Tim?
Yeah, put it towards the kids. I mean, that's what the money's for, right? It's for them. Help make our facilities better. Help make our sports teams better. Help make our curriculum better. Help make our staff better. Yes, we do have a fund balance right now, and it's rather large, and you can go see it on their district's website. And it's our tax dollars. But put it towards the kids. Make this the best place that we can make it. Look, we're not Winnetka. We're not Stevenson High School. As much as I would love for us to be that, we're not. We're a working class community with people that put in hard time and hard money to do the best for their kids. So let's take the money that we have and put it towards the kids. Help make our facilities better for the community as a whole. Help redo the limestone walk. Fix up our athletic fields. Fix up our outside. Make it a nice town. People come, they look, it's curb appeal. It makes it look better. I think they did a great job at Elmwood and John Mills fixing up the front of the schools. I mean, now at John Mills, there's 2 sidewalks. So for years, we had to walk through mud to pick up our kids because, like I said, it's a pick up and drop off school. So just put it towards the kids. That's why we're paying the tax money. It's for the kids.
Thank you. Damian?
I have to agree with Tim. I think that we should be putting it towards our kids. But I also agree with Rosalyn when saying that our teachers are not paid enough. And so we do need to find resources to pay them. And when we have the money and we're sitting on it and we keep arguing, going back in the collective bargaining about the salaries, we have money. So why not find ways, like I said, to keep the teachers, and that's increasing salaries. I think that one of the ways with our excess funds is we could send teachers to get master's degrees in content areas that will add value to the children's education. If these teachers receive education in their content areas, especially at the high school, they will be able to teach dual credit degree classes, which will allow our students to receive college credit while they're at the high school, so that when they go to college, I'm in college now, and I know it's a big burden on my parents and stuff when they have to pay for fees, or my grandma helps me, so I'm thankful for that. But these dual degree credit classes will relieve some burden for the families in our town because they won't have to pay so much for college hours.
Thank you. Tim, you're going to start this next question. Why should someone choose you over the incumbent candidates?
Sure. So as I've talked about a lot, I do a lot of volunteer work. I have 2 kids in the district, and I don't think that automatically qualifies me for the district to be a part of the school board. I think I'm very passionate about our kids. I'm very passionate about our town. I grew up here. We moved back here even after leaving. I think I'd be a good candidate and a good advocate for the residents and for the parents of the community. That's what I'm about. I'm about the kids.
Thank you. Damian?
Well, for starters, I look like most of our students in our district. I'm Hispanic, as Rosalyn here is as well, and 60% of our school district is Hispanic, and so I think it is time that our students have someone who looks like them representing them. Not only that, but I actually attended our schools here. I attended Mills, I went to the middle school, and I graduated from the high school. Last school semester, I had the privilege of going to Elmwood Elementary as a student teacher observer, and seeing the difference in the building and the staff culture there and student culture from my time at Mills was very eye-opening. And like Tim said earlier, we do need to do a better job in connecting the cultures across our district at each building. But I have attended more meetings than certain board members sitting on the board now. I am sometimes the only candidate sitting in the audience during the COW meetings, so I've shown that I will show up for you guys if you will elect me.
Thank you. Rosalyn?
Wow. I am Rosalyn Sanchez. What you see is literally what you get. I am a people person. I am a true advocate. I will help anyone who needs the help. I am a fact checker. That is my middle name. Although I like to help people, I have a very fine line with, there's always two sides to the story and then there's the truth. And I think it's important when advocating or representing anyone, you have to know what you're talking about. You have to be open to educating others. You have to be open to working with others. I'm bilingual, I speak Spanish. My experience is mostly in special education, but I love our people. I rather deal more with kids than adults, respectfully. No, I hope I'm not hurting anybody's feelings. Kids are just my thing. I love it. I love the diversity. I love working with families. I love getting to know people. And like I said, I love my community, and I just hope that I can be that person that they can see in the street and just say, hey, Miss Sanchez, how are you? I am very popular with the children. I mostly know more the children than the parents, but like Damian said, if you would allow me, I would love to be that voice on the school board.
Thank you. Our last question, Damian, you're gonna start us off here. I know some of you are a little bit closer to your school experience than others. I'm very far away, but I still have a lot of good memories of a few teachers that I had when I went to school. Who was your most influential, favorite teacher, and why?
Well, I was hoping I would be able to shout out a teacher, and that teacher would be Miss Brooke Kiska from the high school. Miss Kiska and I still stay in touch today. We often, with other former classmates, we will go and get lunch with Miss Kiska. Miss Kiska shaped who I am today because she said, oftentimes when I struggled to view different students' standpoints on things or ideas, I was like, but I just don't understand why we can't do it this way. Well, she'd be like, because we need to keep in mind everyone. And in my high school years, she was able to help me understand that in our community, we are a growing and diverse community. And having been in AP and honors classes, I often didn't get to see that. So now I can see that and realize that we do need to make a change. So I credit that change in my mind to Ms. Kiska.
Thank you. Rosalyn?
I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, so I have never experienced any teachers. However, being a parent here in Elmwood Park, I have a lot of favorite people, but the person that touched me the most since we moved here, and I'm biased to John Mills only because I'm closer and I'm on this side of the tracks, so please don't take it personal. I would have to say that's Miss Denise Warts at John Mills. She's the secretary. I always found it kind of strange that she's been in the 12 years that we've been here, she's always been very consistent. She's always kind and friendly. I mean, she's always willing to help you. I've never seen her angry or snap, which was puzzling to me because she deals with everyone who comes into John Mills. She's always very patient. Her face always looks the same. You know, she's always smiling. So I really appreciate that because I always say she's the face of John Mills and she deserves recognition for what she does. They all do. I mean, like I said, it's very hard to just pick one person, but because I go there and I have to go there very often, she's the one person that I say will represent what I'm looking for in a community.
Thank you for sharing that. Tim?
Well, I'm old too, Peggy, so there's only one teacher that's left in the district. So Katie Woods, she came in when I went to 7th grade. It was her first year in the district, so she was my homeroom teacher in 7th grade and 8th grade. I think she was a great teacher when I had her, and it was, my son went there, and of course my son gets Mrs. Woods, so it was kind of funny. And I think she's still going to be around for my other son when he goes there next year. So she was a great teacher. I had a lot of great teachers in this district. I have a lot of great teachers in high school and college. They teach you about lots of things. I have a lot of great teacher friends. You know, I have mentors as a referee that are ahead of me in Division I and the professional ranks. They're always teaching you. We're always in rule books. You're always learning. And as an adult, whether you're a kid or an adult, you always got to keep learning. Because once you think you know everything, then you can go talk to my 14-year-old son.
All right, we'll close with the closing statements. And Rosalyn, you're going to start off with 1 minute closing statement.
Thank you for having me. I was a little skeptical. I don't really do the politics thing. I just felt that in these type of situations, everybody's always trying to find the negative in someone else. When in reality, the board consists of 7 people, and you have to be able and have an open heart and an open mind to work well with others. You have to agree to disagree, and at the end of the day, just stay focused with what our true intention is, which is to make sure that our children have the best that they can in our community, that our money is being spent wisely, that the decisions that we're making are benefiting the community as a whole, not just individually, and that we have the opportunity to be able to come together as a community, not only in an educational aspect of it, but just as a community, to be able to see the board members out at the circle or in a fundraiser or at an event and know that we are people too, we can be people, we're approachable, and all I can say is that that's who I am. I'm always willing to make things better. I'm a problem solver. I don't have space for always thinking about the negative. I want to be able to find solutions to our problems here in Elmwood Park.
Thank you. Tim?
Well, thank you to Peggy and your fantastic organization. Thanks for coming to our town. Thanks to the library. Thank you everybody for showing up. We appreciate it. You know, like I said, I'm here for the kids. I've been a lifelong resident. I'm going to volunteer my time whether I'm elected to the board or not. I go be the mystery reader at each school at least once a year. So I got those both coming up at the grade schools. I love reading to the kids. I love putting on the bike rides for the kids, run floor hockey, you know, whatever we can do. Let's make them want to come back as adults and be a part of the community. And I think if we continue to give them the avenues for them to grow as people, for them to grow as a community, they're going to want to come back and be a part of this community down the line as well. So thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you. Damian?
I want to say thank you to the league for hosting this event. Thank you to members of the community who came out to listen to our values and opinions. Thank you to my grandma for inspiring me to pursue a career in education. If you elect me, I will be 1 out of 7 people, so I cannot tell you that I promise you I will get all the things done that I wish to accomplish, but I can promise you that I will advocate my best for our students and for you, the taxpayers. I think that if you elect me, you know, right now, I'm not a parent. I can't go into the schools and volunteer my time. I would love to go and read. I live across the street from John Mills. I can't do that right now because I'm not a parent, but as a board member, it would be more appropriate for me to go and do that. And so if you elect me, I promise you that I will be in those schools and I will be going to these events, because right now I can't, but I will. Thank you.
Well, thank you to the candidates. If anything, I hope these forums have shown you that they're pretty painless. They're not scary at all, and that in the future we'd love to come back for you know, another round with maybe a full slate of people. But hopefully this will be we'll have a copy of it. And again, it will be put on our website, so those of you that know people that couldn't make it tonight will be able to refer them to our website, lwoprf.org, to look at the video and learn about the candidates. To make informed decisions is an important part of democracy, and having the candidates here to talk, and I think they did a great job. So thank you all for coming out tonight, and hopefully we'll see you in the future.